I set a goal to make $10,000 a month from poker and content creation. And then in the very first week of December, I had my biggest loss ever. It's currently December 30th, and I've made $4,210. I started the month down $6,000 from that Hustler stream, which is pretty rough to climb out of. It's definitely disappointing when you make a goal and then you can't hit it. Again, I'm going to be playing tonight. I'm going to be playing on stream tomorrow for some online tournaments. So there's a chance I get to 10,000. There are a lot of people on that Hustler stream that were like, what are you doing? You're playing terribly. And in a lot of ways, I wasn't playing my proudest moments. I think the biggest thing that gives me problems on the Hustler live stream is that it's completely different than any game that I normally play. In my normal games, I'm used to normal player tendencies. I'm used to my normal exploits. They just play so different. It's crazy. In some ways, it feels like you're playing a different game. People are playing so wild. Their ranges are so wild. Their bluff tendencies are so wild. Their everything is different. All I'm saying about the Hustler stream is I know I wasn't playing my best. I was ill-prepared. I am underrolled for that game. I felt like, hey, if we can take a shot. Hopefully we run well. We didn't run well, and unfortunately didn't play the greatest either. All I can do from here is try to grind it out. Today's video will be covering a couple 5-5-10 sessions I've had recently, trying to climb back out of that hole little by little. And then we'll see. We'll see if I'm able to get $10,000 at the end of this month. I don't think it's likely, but I'm gonna try. With that, let's get in the hands. Bomb pot. All right, starting off with 10 jack in middle position in a bomb pot. Flop is ace jack 3. I flop middle pair, but it's a bomb pot. Anyone could have anything, so I check and action checks through. Turn is a 10. Okay, that's more my speed. Action checks to me again. This time I bet $75. 2 players from early position call, and the river is a 6. Again, they check to me, and I think about it. These guys checked the flop and check called my bet on the turn, so I really don't think they're strong. At best, they might have a weak ace. Maybe they have a jack or a 10. I'm not going to go big. I don't think they'll call, but maybe they'll get curious and call a small bet. So I bet $160. The first guy folds. The second guy, he's in pain. He's thinking, and he calls. And I show. And I win. Moving on to pocket sixes in the hijack, I open at $35 and only the button calls. Flop comes out queen, queen, deuce, 2 clubs, and on a paired board, I'm gonna go for a small C bet. I bet $25, and then he raises to $75. My hand's not very good, but here's the thing. A lot of people like to raise on paired boards, especially to a small C bet. On top of that, if he did have a queen, would he really want to raise? He's in position. There's plenty of time for him to get more value. I don't know. It seems a little fishy. I'm gonna hang on. I call. The turn is another deuce. I check it over to him, and he keeps betting, this time for $175. By betting this turn, he's really only saying he has a queen now, and I've already established a queen seems pretty unlikely. So now the question is, do I want to keep hanging on? My gut is telling me yes, so I make the call off to a river, which is an ace. I check, praying he checks back. My heart is pumping. He does check back. I turn over my cards, and they are good. Let's go. Come on. Real quick interruption, you guys. If you've ever been interested in coaching, I'm partnering up with Run It Once. I'm trying to improve my poker game, and I'm giving away 11 free memberships to you guys. All you have to do is make a basic free account. Click the link in the description. You'll get more information. Other than that, let's get back to the poker hands. Next, I have king 7 of spades on the button. I open at $35 and get called by the straddle. Heads up to a flop of jack 9-7. I got bottom pair, but otherwise not too much going on. The straddle checks, and these middling boards are going to be much better for the straddle's range than mine. I have showdown value with bottom pair, but if I bet and get raised, I would have to let this one go. So I think the better move is to check back. Turn is a 4, doesn't change anything, and the straddle bets out for $45. I'm behind if he's betting with a jack, possibly a 9, but I am ahead of a lot of draws, club draws, straight draws. I make the call. Come on, 7 or king on the river. Make my life easy. Nope. River 3, my opponent bets 115, about 2/3 of the pot. I think with this pretty chunky sizing, he's not repping a 9 anymore, so just a jack or better. On the bright side, there are a bunch of draws that missed. Queen 10, King 10, club draws. I was just right on one hero call. I'm about to make another one with third pair. I call. He shows ace 10 off. Come on, let's go. Another one. Another one.
Okay, we're going in. Go, go, move.
He didn't do anything wrong.
We'll hunt him. Because he can take it.
That was a short 2-hour session, so those were the only interesting hands. But moving on to one more session, I'm dealt pocket deuces in the small blind. The hijack limps, the cutoff, a super action player makes it $50. The button calls, I think a lot of people are gonna come into this pot. So I'm gonna go for a set mine. I make the call, the straddle and hijack call, and we're 5 ways to a flop of deuce, 5 queen rainbow. Let's go. We hit our set. I make the standard check, but unfortunately the action checks all the way through. The turn is an ace, and now I'm faced with the decision. This ace shouldn't be great for my range as the small blind, so betting here might look really strong. One of these guys should have an ace, so I can put in the check raise. I default to checking, but unfortunately action checks all the way through. The river is a king. Only hand I'm worried about is jack 10, but at this point, I think I have to bet, try to get value out of an ace or 2 pair. I bet $110 if I get raised, probably gotta fold. The straddle calls, but then the hijack raises to $320. I told myself if I got raised, I would fold, but now here we are. I have a set. It's a very small raise, $210 to win a pot that will be $1,000, meaning I have to win this pot only 20% of the time for this to be a profitable call. He's never bluffing in this spot. Most of the time he probably has 10 jack, but maybe sometimes he overvalues 2 pair. It's such a good price, so I call. Straddle folds, and the hijack of course has 10 jack. I'm not sure if it was a mistake calling the river. Maybe I'm getting the right price. Maybe he always has 10 jack and there is no right price, but my even bigger mistake was not betting the turn. Here's the thing. In a 5-way pot, my opponents might not even bet with their weak or middling aces, so I have to take the initiative there. Honestly, I might have just taken the pot down there, but that still would have been plus $250 on the hand instead of losing $370. Pretty much a $600 mistake. Hindsight's always 20/20, but in this one, I do think the clear right answer was to bet the turn. All right, moving on, I pick up king jack of clubs in the hijack. A very crazy action player opens from early position to $50. I think briefly about 3-betting, but honestly, I think the better move against this particular player is calling in position, letting him bluff into me, and when I have a hand, get paid off. So we're heads up to a flop of king 10-10. Not bad, we're beat by better kings, we're beat by a 10, but pretty nice flop for my hand. He starts off with a check. And remember guys, I want this guy to bluff into me. If I bet, he could fold out all his nothings, so I check back. Turn is another 10. Perfect, I have a full house now. I'm only beat by a 10. He checks again, and again, I want to give him the chance to bluff into me. So I check back. The river is a 4. He checks for a 3rd time, definitely a bummer. Now I have to bet, I bet $50. Maybe he can call with ace high or a pair, but he raises to $250. Snap call. He shows 9-5 of hearts, and just like that, we take down a nice one. Okay, now I got pocket jacks in the low jack. I open at $35, and then the cutoff, who's a short stack, min 3 bets to $70. Our maniac friend from last hand makes the cold call from the straddle, and it's on me. I think there's one move here. Isolate the short stack, go for the 4-bet. I make it $275. The cutoff goes all in for his remaining $365. The maniac man folds. I call. We're up against ace king, the classic flip, but unfortunately he hits a king. Next hand. I have kings on the button. Maniac action player opens to 65 on the hijack. I 3-bet to 180. He makes the call. It's a dream spot. It is a dream spot. Flop comes out 5-5-9. He checks. I go for the standard small c-bet on a paired board. I bet 110. He calls. Turn is a 7. He checks. Standard move might be to jam for my remaining $360, but I don't want to let him off the hook if he floated with nothing, which is likely. I want him to make a move on me. So I check. River is a 4. He doesn't take the bait, unfortunately. He checks. I go all in now, $360. I'm hoping he calls me with ace high or some raggedy pair, hoping that he thinks I'm full of it. And he does call with jack queen, queen high. Holy cow. Now you might be thinking, wow, how lucky you are, Brantzen, to be in that situation. And you're right. But so much of poker is looking for the best games, looking for the best table in the casino, moving yourself in position of the action players. All these things are things you can control, or at least can work toward. But anyway, moving on to pocket fives in the low jack, I opened to $35. Maniac Man 3-bets to 110 from the straddle. It's a small 3-bet, I'm in position. This guy would definitely pay me off if I hit, so I call. Unfortunately, the flop is Jack King 9. He checks. Now I don't want to bet. This guy has shown that he will float or make moves, and my hand is just not good. I pretty much resigned to give up on this type of board. I check, and when the turn is a jack and he bets, I just fold. In another one, I have pocket nines. I end up calling a big open multi-way to set mine. I miss and give up, but I just want to let you guys know not every hand is a banger. I typically show the more important hands of the session, so naturally they're going to be boards in which I have a good amount of equity, but I miss plenty and give up just like everyone else. And it's important to note that even in a situation where you're in position of the action player, not every pot you play against them, you're gonna win. And if you try to force it, a lot of times you're just gonna end up losing money. All right, last hand of the night, ace king in the small blind. The hijack opens to $30. The cutoff and button call, and we're definitely going for the 3-bet. I make it $180. Only the button calls, heads up to a flop of king jack 10. I start off with a bet of $150, and he calls. He only has 280 left, so I'm looking to get it all in on the turn. The turn is a 7. It's a nice brick, and I go all in for his remaining $280. He thinks about it for a while, which makes me happy because 2 pair or better would have snap called, but eventually he does still make the call. The river is a 9. I'm not loving it because any queen makes a straight. I show my cards, and he mucks. And that was the last significant hand of the night, starting off in the hole with a set of deuces, losing jacks to ace king, but I was able to come back and book the win.